I even carried around in my wallet today is kind of this paper that kind of reminds me of some of the key things that I think I learned throughout career and both in public and private sector. And the first part was like understanding your environment. What are those cultural things? Here I am in Pakistan. Here's what I expected I would be doing in the Navy, and now I'm, in a joint task force. Who are the power brokers? How do you understand that? What were the dynamics on the ground? How do you work with that? The other key thing I think is relationships. I always had a thing that I said my top three priorities in command were relationships, relationships, relationships. You can have them in any order, but those would be the top three because it's so important. And understanding those, is that the trust you build up over time, those relationships, is it long term, is it transactional? How do you build your team? I think is another big one. How do you suspend that organizational professional egos? One of the success of the earthquake is, as you can imagine, the dynamics both in the United States, inside the embassy with all the different agencies, and then outside, what you had to interface with Pakistan, the UN, and the NGOs. But how do you do that? And as we know in the military, one of the neat things we talk about, whether it was tactical command or administrative command or whatever, and operational command, and many people get wrapped around it. But we came up with this supporting relationships. Who's supported? How do you supporting? And so it became very clear to me that even though when I ended up in the earthquake, I had incredible capabilities. Nobody in the world like the U.S. military to be able to bring forces and experiences together. So I had all the toys, you know, the equipment, the money, the aircraft, the people, the knowledge, the know-how to be able, and it overwhelms everybody else. It would have been easy for me to say, excuse me, I'm in charge, because we're going to be there. But I got everybody aligned on the supporting relationships. And we were there to support the U.S. effort to Pakistan, a friend in need, to be able to do that. And then the idea that we had different coalition members that had, I mean, we were able to generate 30 some helicopters, strategic airlift, strategic marine lift, hospitals, you name it, we had access to. I needed more helicopters. 3 days later, they're flying helicopters from around the world to land, build up, and then be able to perform the missions. And there are some countries that don't have that capability or people. So you kind of go, hey, everyone can contribute, and acknowledging that, being able to do that. But then I think, in all these is that there's clear missions and goals. How do you establish that commander's intent of what you want to do? And then the key thing is that sharing information and intent. How do you make sure? Because if you're going to empower people, and that's the best way, I hated being micromanaged, and that was one of the key things. How do you break down silos? But sharing that information and intent to be able to give people good guidance, and then the accountability. And so those things that those, 5, 6 things that just resonate with me all the time, that basic leadership principles and essence of leadership that we all learn. But these were the things that I learned as I was growing up and had great leaders and bad leaders to learn from.